How you doing, people? Welcome to the Rubin Report. I'm Dave Rubin, and we have a smart and heady show for you, as opposed to the not smart, not heady shows that we've been pumping out for the last year. Jaclyn Glenn, Cara Santa Maria. These are two smart, science-y chicks. Can I say that? Are you both comfortable with that description?
What, sciencey?
Science-y chicks. Fair enough? We're okay with that?
Chick is up for debate.
Chick is that debatable? All right, I feel good about this. We got a bunch of topics that I think that they're really going to want to sink their teeth into, so here we go. A school in Fort Lauderdale, Florida is in a bunch of hot water after a teacher reportedly banned one of her students from reading the Bible during free reading time. She actually called the parents' phone at home and left a message, and we've got some audio.
Good morning, Mr. Rubio, Mrs. Thomas. Giovanni called you because I asked him to. I noticed that he has a book, a religious book, in the classroom. He's not permitted to read those books in my classroom. He said, if I told him to put it away, you said not to do that. So please give me a call. I need to have some understanding on direction to him about the book he's reading as opposed to the curriculum for public school. Mrs. F. Thomas, thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Okay, so this brings up a lot of interesting things, obviously about freedom of religion, and this was free reading time at the school, which implies that the kids can read anything that they want to read. Now, I know you guys aren't huge on religion, so I thought this would be an interesting topic for you guys to handle. What do you make of this teacher? It wasn't a school-wide thing, apparently, but this teacher felt that this kid could not read the Bible in class. Is that okay?
No, I don't think that's okay. I mean, I'm normally very against having religion in schools, but that's having the school push religion on the kids. In this case, the kid just was an individual who wanted to bring the book to school and read it, and it's a personal choice, and I don't think that that should be handled the way that they did, you know?
Cara, personal choice?
Well, I mean, yeah, the First Amendment protects my right to not read the Bible the same way it protects this child's right to read the Bible. This is a blatant violation of the Constitution, and there's action being taken now. There are lawyers that are working with the student's family, and this could potentially be pushed up through the court system. So I'm not sure if this teacher is aware of the fact that she's violating the Constitution by telling this child that he can't read this book in her classroom, and maybe that'll be corrected as soon as she kind of reads the Constitution.
I mean, it's not like that kid reading the Bible is going to influence the other kids around them. You know, it's not being forced on anybody.
But even if it did influence the other kids around him, it doesn't matter, because the truth is that is a choice that the law of the land protects. So this wasn't something that was, like you said, part of the curriculum. This isn't something that the teacher was pushing onto the students. But yes, you have every right to read whatever religious text you want to read in a public place, in a private place, whatever. It'd be one thing if he was reading this book when he was supposed to be reading Tom Sawyer and making a big stink about it, but in free reading class, to tell a student that he has to take his Bible out of the classroom, his Quran out of the classroom, his Torah out of the classroom, whatever, it's a violation of the First Amendment.
Yeah.
Plain and
I
simple.
feel like carrying around a Quran or a Torah, I feel like it's a bigger book.
It's a big
book.
book.
I feel like that's a huge thing.
Well, I think you're used to seeing it kind of in these religious. There are giant Bibles too. I'm pretty sure.
Isn't there like an ark, and you have to have like 5 people pushing it and everything?
Kids' Bibles and stuff too.
Kids' Bibles are much
You've also
smaller.
got the app.
Oh, there's the app.
There's like a million of those like stupid Bible apps.
All right, you're right. It's not about the size of the book. Should we be a little afraid of? So we're blaming this on the teacher, not the school itself. So that's one thing. But should we be a little afraid of these people that are pushing the anti-religion thing, even if you're not for religion in the public sphere? That they're pushing it to this extent, like that she called and she said, you know, this isn't going to happen in my class. That there's a danger really in her methodology of how she's trying to preach liberalism or something.
Absolutely. I mean, there's as much of a danger there as there is pushing religion on kids. You don't want to make up their mind for them. It should be up to the child, as we were saying before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if a child can really make those kinds of decisions. I mean, that's another debate entirely. But aside from that, I think we need more context. Like, is she preaching anti-religion, or is she so afraid of First Amendment violations and afraid of all the things that she's seen in the news lately that she thought that this was the right course of action? Like, oh no, I don't want a Bible in my classroom because I could get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
Maybe, like, that's the thing, is that when you become very extreme on one side or the other of the issue, I think, and because it's such a polarized issue, it's such a political kind of hot button issue, I think that there's confusion surrounding it. And this, again, we don't have context. It could be that this woman was trying to push a specific agenda. It could be that she was afraid of the opposite agenda being, seeming like it's being pushed in her classroom. So I think with a little more context, we would understand this a little better, but until then, it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, where do you guys fall in terms of where the debate should be on this? Because there is, it seems to me, you could teach in a history class, you could teach about the historical existence of Jesus and what was going on in that time without giving a religious context to it. But once you start doing that, then you open up a can of worms where everyone wants to bring all the miracles and all that stuff in it. So where do you fall in terms of what we can teach without teaching myth, so to speak?
Technically, there's no viable evidence that Jesus actually existed.
No,
there are stories.
Cara, Bill O'Reilly wrote a book about the historical. Yeah,
that makes
go.
it true.
Yeah, please take it away.
There are stories. There's corroborating tales and myths and maybe non-myths. We don't know, but there's no actual evidence that there was a historical figure named Jesus, the way that there's evidence of historical figures who wrote things, or where we have their bones someplace. Like that doesn't exist for Jesus Christ. So and I'm not saying I don't think Jesus Christ existed. I have no fucking idea, but I don't think that
you want empirical evidence.
I want empirical evidence, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with talking about the history of religion or the history of philosophy in those types of courses. I don't know if Jesus's existence should be taught in a history class, because I don't think we should be making.
I mean,
so is that the distinction that it should be taught?
Yeah.
If you were going to teach it in high school, for example, it shouldn't be taught in social studies, but it could be taught in a philosophy class.
Well, there's philosophy, there's electives. You can choose to take religion. You can have Bible study classes outside of the high school. I mean, but you can't just sit there and say that I know Jesus was historical, so I'm going to teach it. But you can teach the effects that religion had on history. I mean, it's important, and you can't really avoid it.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be part of your history class, regardless if you're learning about kind of American history or if you're learning about world history. Like, you can't avoid a conversation about religion. But I think religion as an institution and its sociological effects is a very different conversation than the lore and the dogma within a religion being taught as fact. Like that's where I start to have a problem with it.
So the church actually existing and having political, machinations and things like that, that's real. The walk on water stuff, maybe not so real. We're all agreed.
I wouldn't teach that part in my history class.
You
It's definitely nowhere near science.
All right, there you go. I think we summed that one up pretty well. Let's move on. I thought this was kind of fascinating. A 25-year-old woman named Emily Letts, who's an abortion counselor from New Jersey, she filmed herself having an abortion, and this thing has been blowing up, and you might have seen it already. We're going to show you just a little bit of it.
I just want to share my story. To show women that there is such thing as a positive abortion story. I got a lot of hands. Got a lot of support. Pretty lucky girl.
You pass it on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to pass it on. Lucky girl. Everyone deserves it.
Okay, so obviously she was trying to show a positive abortion story, and she's obviously pro-abortion. She's an abortion counselor. I believe a woman has a right to choose, and I have no right to tell a woman what to do with her own body. But after watching this, I was really kind of conflicted if this sort of helps the cause of abortion or not, because by showing something that clinical, it actually it felt a little weird to me. It really did.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I mean, okay, personally, I think my very first response when I watched this was like, I don't care. But I don't think I'm the audience for this story. I've never had an abortion, but like you, I'm pro-choice. I have friends who have had abortions, and I don't think that I need a YouTube video to understand the process, but that's me. I would research it in different ways, I think, if I were faced with that difficult, and let's be honest, that
she may have not been
decision.
going to the Cara Santa Maria demographic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not, but my second response when I saw this video was like, like it's not well done. Like I think that was my problem. She was trying to force with the music and like, oh, it's a positive experience. It's like, okay, it's a personal experience.
Yeah.
It's an experience that could have often does have positive ramifications in somebody's life down the line, but I don't know if having an outpatient procedure is like you know, something that needs violin music behind it. It just, you're right, it puts a bad taste in your mouth a little bit, and I think more than anything, all this video is really going to do is going to polarize people. If you look at where it was posted, the article where I first read it from was on a conservative site, and the vitriol in the comment section was like, I mean, granted, she must have known that was going to happen. I don't blame her. I think that, you know, she has the right to make this kind of statement. And honestly, maybe if she did touch one or two young women who were like, I want to do this, but I'm afraid. I think that it's going to hurt. I think it's going to, you know, ruin my life. And they watch that and they go, oh, maybe it's not that bad. I actually do have an option. I guess it's a positive outcome.
I mean, well, and you're totally right about strengthening the other side thing, because once this thing got posted on Drudge, then it goes across the right-wing blogosphere and everyone starts ranting against it. Do you generally agree with
I mean, I generally do. I feel bad because you're right, it did get posted on a conservative website. The comments were so hateful towards her. They said that she got pregnant on purpose so that she could do this and get all this attention, which is just
because
ridiculous.
Women love having abortions,
I mean,
right? I mean, I'm not a woman,
so much
but
fun,
right there,
no,
it's like really
it's horrible.
parties and...
It's a really touchy subject, and like I almost try to avoid saying that I'm pro-abortion and say that I'm pro-choice, because no one wants to be pro-abortion. Like, yeah, abortions are awesome.
Yeah,
Right.
it's so
But
funny
at
how
the
many
same
people
time-
think that like
Yeah.
it's something that most women use as a form of birth control because it's somehow easier.
It's definitely
It's somehow
not.
easier to just not think about it, get laid, what the fuck ever, I'll just take care of the baby. It's like, no woman wants to do that. It can't be comfortable, and it is emotional for most people.
And it has a lot of medical problems. Sometimes people can't get pregnant after having an abortion. There's a lot of serious consequences with it, and it can be psychologically detrimental, which is something that I think one of the biggest reasons why I didn't like this video is because she was just so like happy the whole time, and that's good because, like you said, it's important to show girls who've already made the choice to have an abortion that it's not going to hurt, you know, it's not going to be as horrible as they might think it could be, and it kind of gives them some reassurance, but at the same time, it's kind of like almost encouraging in a way.
Right, so it sounds like you're both agreed that her idea was good here, but that the way they produced this with the music and, you know, like she was going so far out of her way to make it seem like it was okay,
Yeah.
that also, you know, we don't see the clinical things. It sort of reminded me of like the death penalty. When we don't see these people being put to death, I'm against the death penalty anyway,
Yeah.
but like if we don't see it, we don't know what's going on. And by seeing her laying there, it felt much more human. It actually was making me rethink my position a little bit. I'm still pro-choice.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of why my first reaction was just like the production values were so terrible. I feel like if it had been produced a little bit differently,
really,
like if she had, you know, edited things a little bit differently, it looked like she selectively edited to only show the parts where she was the most comfortable. She never once said like, okay, this part is a little uncomfortable. Okay, I'm past it. I'm past it. If it had felt a little more real to me, because I do kind of like the idea that we were in that room with her, experiencing it with her, and she was sharing that intimate moment, so that people would understand, like, if I can do it, and you're afraid to do it, but you know you need to do it, you can do it too.
Yeah.
But it was almost forced in this weird
it's a
kind of
little-
positive
There's a
kumbaya.
little bias, like you said. You're
Yeah.
just unrealistic. Just no one's going to be that excited and that happy to go through this process. I feel like it should have showed both sides. Like,
Right, and of course, you know, I'm not saying she got pregnant. I'm not going on that route to say she got pregnant to do this video, but obviously her allegiances are where they are because she's an abortion counselor, so she wanted to spin it in a certain light. What do you guys make of the men, basically, that try to tell you what to do with your bodies? Because it's pretty much all men, or a huge percentage of men that are always voting on abortion, and even
Writing the legislation.
writing the
and- yeah.
legislation, all of that. And I'm always fascinated by it because I literally cannot understand how someone who does not have the body parts
Yeah.
can tell you what to do with your body parts.
Yeah, I totally agree. There needs to be more women in legislation so that that kind of thing doesn't happen. But I don't want to be too one-sided because I feel like certain women who are in relationships have abortions without telling their significant other, and that can be kind of a gray area, I think, where you
Yeah.
might need to actually talk to the father.
Are you saying they should have some sort of like forced
You know,
consent
I don't think
situation?
so. I don't
or-
think so, but I just feel like to say that, you know, men have no say and they shouldn't even be able to give me their opinion on it, I think that's going a little too far.
Well, I mean, of course, I think men should be able to give you their opinion.
Yeah, I'm
but-
more talking about the people that are voting for
Yeah,
this
I
kind
mean,
of thing,
but I
right?
personally feel very strongly that until a baby is born, like it's a women's health issue and a women's health issue alone. Until this, this organism is viable on its own, what we're really talking about is a medical pregnancy is a medical condition for a woman.
Yeah.
And it's a choice that she is deciding to make, the same way that she can make a choice about the best treatment option for her cancer, the same way that she can make a choice about whether or not she wants to elect to have certain surgeries. And yes, I think that having outside perspectives is helpful. I hope that if you're only lucky enough to be in a situation where there is a man in your life who is willing to give you his opinion about the situation, because many times when a woman is faced with the decision of having an abortion, she's on her fucking own, and that's even more difficult. But it's her choice. Fundamentally, it is her choice, and nobody has a right, whether we're talking about legislators or we're talking about people with personal relationships, to tell a woman what she can and can't do with her own pregnancy, because until that baby is born, it is a women's health, a medical issue.
So you're saying until that baby is born, do you guys have a cutoff? Is there a cutoff point? Because that's the other debate. Is it the 2 trimesters? Is it? Because it seems to me that if you were to say 8 months, well, that baby probably could live.
I think it's silly to draw a line, to be honest.
It's what?
I think it's silly to draw a line. Like, obviously, when the baby is born, then there are certain legal issues that you can't argue with.
Right.
But before then, I feel like it's an individual's, perspective on the situation, and that's why I'm pro-choice, because my opinion on that might not be the same as somebody else's opinion on that, and I recognize that.
Yeah.
So, I personally don't think I could go through with having an abortion, but that has nothing to do with my willingness to vote on whether or not somebody else can. I'm not going to be pushy.
I mean, obviously there are legal issues that, in a perfect world, we don't often think about. So sure, maybe there's a woman who's 8.5 months pregnant, she's abusing drugs and alcohol. The courts want to be able to say, you're abusing a life inside of you, and we should be able to force you to maybe stop doing that. We should be able to force you to have the child instead of blah, blah. And that's where things start to get really touchy and really, touch and go, like I said. But it's a complicated topic, I think. But the problem most of the time when it comes to this kind of legislation is not motivated by those specific situations. I think this legislation is generally motivated by religious bias, and there are people who go to the extreme that they'll say that, like, the actual seed, the actual sperm is, ordained by God, and that shouldn't even be spilled. So I think that
I'm pretty sure my sperm is not ordained by God. That's a whole other topic. All right, so final thought on this. Is this, I was thinking, putting this type of thing on YouTube really is such a 2014 thing. Is there something very freeing happening in the digital sphere that we can put this stuff out there, and that whether it's good or bad, whether we watch this and whether it's strengthening the other side or not, or whether it's really changing anyone's mind, that's going to be more pro-choice. This is all good, though, just the information, right?
Yeah, I think that overall it's a positive thing, just because it does give that comfort to girls who've decided to have an abortion. But I do see how it can really be a lightning rod for the opposite side.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me the most, because religious people are the ones who are saying, don't masturbate, don't use condoms, don't take birth control, and then they want to legislate against abortions. It's like, well, maybe if you were a little bit more open-minded about prevention.
It's very cool that we're living in a world right now where free speech is kind of helped by multimedia and by the fact that we can use something as simple as the camera on our phone to produce a video and to tell a message in a much more compelling way than just standing outside and hoping that people will gather around us to hear what we have to say.
And we at least have that freedom on the internet for a little while longer, although net neutrality was struck down, which we've also talked about 1,000 times. So, good luck to us all. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about porn, because I'm sure that's not going anywhere on the internet. Arizona's Republican Governor Jan Brewer, Jan Brewer, she signed a law this week cracking down on revenge porn, classifying it as a sex offense. Of course, revenge porn is when you post photos or videos, usually of an ex of yours, without their consent. There's a bunch of states that have this. Let's get a little info on the law. Arizona's strict new law makes revenge porn a felony, establishing an initial 18 months in prison or 2.5 years in prison if the person in the image can easily be identified. It will apply to any photograph, videotape, film, or digital recording of a person, and it makes it a crime to disclose, display, distribute, publish, advertise, or offer these photos or videos. This seems all good to me. I usually don't agree with Jan Brewer, but this seems pretty good. Is there anything wrong with this kind of law? And did we really just need this because of...
That was my question. Like, why do we have to say that you're not allowed to post revealing photos of your ex on the internet? Like, that should be obvious
It should
that you
be
can't
obvious.
do that.
Are you
So-
saying people sometimes have a bad nature?
Yeah, I think
Occasionally,
so.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous that this even had to be said. Like, don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Don't rape people. Don't murder people. Don't post pictures of people on the internet for everyone to see and invade their privacy. Like, that's common sense.
Wasn't the original 11th commandment, thou shalt not post pictures,
yeah, porn,
nudies
yeah,
of other
nudies.
people and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, all good here? All good?
Oh, completely. I mean, obviously, this needs to be legislated because people will argue that this is a violation of free speech and that they should have the right to be able to say this. And if there's something in their possession, especially, you know, it gets complicated when somebody takes a selfie. And the interesting thing is that some of these revenge porn laws actually don't apply to self-recorded things. In Arizona, they do, but in other states, some of them don't apply to like self-recorded images, which I think is a nuance that shouldn't be written into the law. But that's where I think the legality gets confusing, because if I took a picture of myself naked and gave it to you and said, this is now your property.
But she does that all the time.
Then, yeah, I do it. It's our relationship.
Yeah,
I don't,
no, that's good.
Don't judge us,
No,
okay?
that's cool. That's cool. You know, we're cool around here.
Yeah. So if I did that, you should, you know, you might be able to argue that it's now your property and you can do whatever you want with it.
Good to know.
Unfortunately, there's no waiver signed. There's
Yeah.
no release there. If there were a waiver signed, this revenge porn law would not apply, right? If
That's actually not a terrible idea. Like, have an app where you're going to send all your nudes and you have to actually
you have
click
to sign a
something
waiver.
to say,
We
all
have
right,
to do
you
that
can
in
do
production all the time. If I film you on the street doing an interview and you don't want your face on camera, you can choose not to sign the release, and then you have to blur your face out. So
Yeah.
the fact that these are, you know, private experiences that people will ultimately, I think that's kind of the interesting thing about this law. It's sort of like the separation between a typical violent crime and a hate crime, because it's motivated by something that's really specific and really dark and kind of violent and vengeful. And because of that direct motivation, I think the penalty should be stronger, because the actual act is honestly, like, what is your protection of that act? Like, what can you argue in a courtroom that says, oh yeah, I did this in good faith and it was, you know, it was a positive experience.
I sent that picture to all my friends in good faith.
Yeah.
I just wanted to promote the nudeness of this other person.
Yeah, it was great.
Is part of the problem here that we got all this technology so fast? You know what I mean? Like, the internet is really, for our purposes, it's like 20 years old. You know what I mean? It's not that long ago that it was all dial-up. And we got all of this stuff, webcams and phone cameras and Snapchat. We got it all so fast that everybody started doing all of this crazy stuff. And now it's like we need these laws to control us, because otherwise it's just endless, right?
Yeah, people are not the brightest. They'll just do whatever they can with what they have. I mean, it's not the technology's fault, though. I mean, we have a bunch of things at our disposal. It's your choice to be a jerk with it. So no, it's not the technology's fault, but definitely people are going a little bit crazy, and we have to make laws like this.
We're short-sighted as a society. That's part of the problem, is that people make decisions that seem good in the moment, and they don't think about the ramifications down the line. And it's also difficult because there's no legislation in place protecting minors per se.
That was my next question.
And so, we argue in this country all the time about the legal drinking age, the legal driving age. Like, at what point are you responsible enough to operate heavy machinery or, you know, take a substance that's psychotropic? And so, at what point are you responsible enough to have a camera and the ability to upload any picture that you take onto the internet? It's difficult. When you're a young person, it's even harder to think about the downstream ramifications, and there are biological reasons for that. That part of your brain isn't well developed. So, and we're also not socialized to have that kind of responsibility at that age. So that's where things get difficult, and that's why I think it is so important to have legislation like this.
Yeah, I am totally on board. We were all in agreement there. All right, there you go. Let's move on. Okay, I am very excited to talk about this because we do a lot of stuff on this show about all the crazy shit that's in our foods, all the whacked out chemicals that are in yoga mats that you're eating, and pink slime and everything else. And every time we do one of these stories, the comment section go crazy and they yell at me and they say I'm anti-science because I'm even bringing this up and it's in there and it's not going to kill you. That seems to be a general theme. I think it's weird that we eat beaver anal gland juice is vanilla flavoring. I think that's weird. It may not kill me. I just think it's odd that someone was squeezing a beaver's anus and thought this tastes good. Okay. So I wanted to bring on two people that understand a little more about science than I do and break some of this stuff down, because you might have heard this week that Coca-Cola has announced that it's not going to use brominated vegetable oil, or BVO, in soft drinks such as Fanta, Fresca, and Powerade anymore. And this comes after a lot of people were talking online about how BVO is related to compounds that are found in fire retardants. So let's look at a little more info on BVO. It contains the chemical bromine, which is also found in fire retardants, as I just said. Small quantities of BVO are legally allowed in some drinks to ensure even flavor distribution. According to the Center for Science in the Public Interest, BVO is a poorly tested and possibly dangerous food additive, and there's no reason to use it in Gatorade or other drinks. So before we get to the next thing, I want to stop there for a second, because as I said, when we do this, everyone yells at me and they say, well, if you don't eat a ton of it, you'll be okay. We put chemicals in our body all the time, and everything has chemicals, and the ink is getting chemicals, and you just get,
And you're made of chemicals.
and you're made of chemicals, and all of that, right,
Yeah.
all of that. So can you guys give me just sort of a basic break, something? Can you give me something to kick this conversation off?
So I'll start by saying that I think that the people in the comment section, there's a lot of validity to what they're saying, because there is, especially in liberal media, there is kind of a quick tick to immediately be afraid of anything that a corporation produces.
Absolutely.
And immediately be afraid of words like molecule and chemical and,
Right.
and you know, and all of a sudden it sounds dangerous. We have this debate all the time with genetically modified organisms. We have this debate with, you know, preservatives, food additives, whatever.
Yeah.
So there is a reason to kind of stop, sit back, and think about this rationally.
Okay, I'm on board so far.
So we'll start there.
Okay.
Now, I personally don't know much about BVO as a food additive.
Yeah.
But when organizations that are there to protect the public interest do their research and do their due diligence and say, okay, we don't know much about this. There are many nations that have banned it. Now, that's not reason enough for us to. But here's the clincher for me. There's no reason for it to be there, because you can have the same effect if you use something that's been proven to be safe.
Right.
Why aren't we using the thing that's been proven to be safe?
Cara, do you think it might have something to do with money?
Yeah.
Do you think possibly it could be a financial decision?
Probably. And this is the cool thing, I think, about living in the internet age, is that if enough people get wind of an issue and write a petition and get loud about it and say, I'm not going to buy your product anymore because I'm afraid of this one thing that you're using in it that I don't think has been clearly tested, and I'm not sure about the health benefits of it, we'll just stop buying Coca-Cola products. Coca-Cola has to respond. They see a drop in profits.
Right, and then make their product better. Even if it's not
Exactly.
killing us, they can make it more natural.
course
And
they
that's
can make it
probably
better.
basic. Is it fair to say that things that are natural are basically good? And I don't want to get into the
Everything-
economic argument yet.
Everything is natural.
Yeah.
Everything.
Oh,
If
great.
it occurs
Even
in
the
nature,
artificial stuff?
Yeah, it occurs in nature. It's natural. I hate to be that nitpicky, but I know that everybody's going to say
Yeah,
that.
no, please.
No, but I mean, it's true. And the thing is, it's good to find things that you think are unhealthy, point them out, and replace them with something that's better, especially if that thing that's better is available. I don't
Yeah.
know why, like you said, we're not already using that to begin with. But
Money.
But there's a lot of people out there who like to think about these things, and they freak out about it because they want to be like, I'm health conscious. I'm gonna take this initiative and do better with this issue. But they're ignoring everything else. Like, they're ignoring the ammonia that people use to disinfect meat. They're ignoring all the hormones in meat too.
slime, yeah.
I mean, there's just so many things out there that are exponentially worse that nobody cares about, but they hop onto this one issue and feel better about themselves as a whole because they're taking care of one tiny little detail.
Okay, so just to talk about the pink slime for 1 second, because it gets everybody nuts, and we've done a couple of videos on it. So basically, they're taking the worst of the worst meat, stuff literally that's falling on the floor. Then they pile it all together. They wash it with ammonia. You were not kidding. They wash it with ammonia to kill all the
the E. coli and
horrible
stuff, yeah.
stuff that's on there. And then we eat it, and it is edible. It is human. Before they do that process, it's not even fit for human consumption, the meat.
Yeah.
And then it is. But when we've done videos on that, even then people say, well, they've done what they're supposed to do, so it's okay. But you would not agree with that.
No, I wouldn't eat stuff that was washed with bleach either. I mean, it doesn't matter what they've done to it to disinfect it. It's still really unhealthy, not to mention all the hormones and stuff that you find in meat.
Right.
It's just really bad for you.
I take a really nuanced approach to, like, specifically if we're talking about pink slime,
Yeah.
because let's say that I am living in the inner city and I don't have the monetary means to eat at Whole Foods,
Yeah.
and I don't have the means to grow my own food. I mean, hopefully, I like the idea of getting back to a slow food movement. I like the idea of getting back to, once you can get to the source of your food, if there's fewer steps that it takes before that makes it to your mouth, it's more likely, I think, generally speaking, I'm not going to say as a rule, but generally speaking, it's more likely that that food will be healthier, the less processed it gets. The more processed it gets, the more we get into this conversation about food that weirdly, kind of paradoxically, makes us obese, but also makes us malnourished. And that's a huge problem in this country specifically, but also it's going into other Western nations. So when you say, if something's more natural, it's probably better for you. That's bullshit, because like you can't eat shit.
This is
like
why I brought you on the show.
Yeah, like you can't just like go out and eat some cow shit. Like that's natural.
Cocaine is natural.
And it'll
You
make
can eat
you
the
really
mushrooms
sick.
off cow shit, though.
You can.
Yeah.
There are certain things that we talk about, that first step, are horribly dangerous. You know, there's toxic things all over the place in nature, and chemists have been able to extract things and to add things together in such a way that they take natural ingredients and make powerful drugs out of them, and make powerful substances, and make food, use food science to make things that taste better and that are whatever. And so I think the issue is, as you always like to say, and this is an important point, follow the money. Like, what is the goal here? Is the goal feeding people and feeding them nutritious food, or is the goal, you know, a multinational corporation's profit motive? Coca-Cola, and I'm the first to admit, I love Coca-Cola and I drink it fucking every day. It's like my biggest vice. It's horrible for you. That's the problem.
We had lunch. You had a big ass Coca-Cola.
I drink
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
I mean, it was a big one.
I do all the time. It's like I don't drink alcohol, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. That's my vice. Like that is my vice. But it's not good for you. Like, in no sense of the term is drinking a Coke something that you need for like basic nutrition.
Wait, high fructose corn syrup's not good for you?
It's
My
not
notes
healthy.
are completely screwy.
It causes all sorts of health problems, like liver problems and diabetes. Like, your body shouldn't take in that much sugar.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about here is, are these corporations making decisions in the best interest of your health? Probably not. They're probably making decisions in the best interest of their profits, as you mentioned. So we need legislation, we need regulation that protects the consumer. But we also shouldn't be so trigger happy that every time we hear the word chemical, it makes us shake in our boots, because everything is made of chemicals.
Everything's made of chemicals. Okay, so speaking of the corporation, so the big thing that kicked this off a couple months ago was the Subway thing that we've alluded to. And the chemical that is in the bread, or was in the bread because they've now taken it out, is called ADA. And let's get some more info about ADA. Its primary use is in plastic and rubber products like yoga mats and flip-flops, where it's used to make them softer and more stretchy. So if you wonder why the bread at Subway is so fluffy and stretchy, you think maybe it has something to do with that? Many bread products often contain ADA, which is used to make dough more elastic, and ADA is known to increase the risk of asthma, allergies, and skin problems. And we've got a bunch of foods that actually contain ADA. McDonald's buns, Chick-fil-A sandwiches, Burger King buns, Dunkin' Donuts, Wendy's bread, Arby's, Jack in the Box, Carl J. I mean, everything. Pretty much everything. I don't see In-N-Out on there, which is nice. So how should we fear this? Because this one seems a little more close to home to me, because you can sort of like really tangibly see why the breads, you know what I mean? You get bread, if you get regular, you go to a bakery and get a bread, it's not as fluffy and stretchy. So there is some connection between the rubbery feeling of a yoga mat and this bread. So can I at least make that jump?
Well,
Can you
let's
guys give me
first
that?
separate in our minds, like, just because it has one component doesn't mean we're eating yoga mats.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is the thing we immediately jump to.
Yeah.
Is like, okay, this chemical is found in these two products, so therefore these two products are the same thing.
Yeah.
And so, no, we are not eating yoga mats. Like,
Right.
let's get that clear. We
But
have
can
no
I at
idea.
least make that jump a little bit more with this one?
We don't know if those quantities there were harmful. I don't think there's enough research. But again, if you can make it without the damn thing, and there's even a chance that it's more healthy for the consumer, then there you go. That's a great idea. I mean, why not? And I do like that the power of the consumer's collective voice made a change for Subway, because Subway tries to tout themselves as a more healthy alternative, and they don't want to have things in their food that are going to make health conscious consumers turn away. But if you're really that concerned about it, the first option would be
Don't eat fast food.
Just
Yeah,
don't eat fast food. Is that, at the end of the day, final thought on this?
Yeah.
I mean, is that really the end? That, like, if you
That's
can at least get that out?
That's what I've been thinking this whole time. Like, I don't want to say you shouldn't fix a problem that exists, because if you can use something healthier, then use it. But at the same time, you're freaking out over one chemical whenever you're eating a McDonald's hamburger. Think about what you're eating and how gross it is and all the crap that's in there, and you're freaking out about ADA. Like,
Right.
it just seems a little bit.
And also, I know that
strange.
people will make the economic argument that you talked about before, and they'll say they don't have access to this other food and things of that nature. But I do think that, you could buy a can of tuna for $1.50, and yes, you'll probably die of mercury poisoning, as my mom reminds me all the time. But like, there are some cheaper ways to eat things, and I know it's not as quick as McDonald's, but there are ways. So it's not totally tied into
when the deck is stacked against you, my advice is never throw up your hands and just give up, right? Yes, this deck is stacked against you, and unfortunately, you're going to see people in certain economic situations having less options, and it's going to be harder to make healthy decisions. And so yes, that fucking sucks, and it's unfair. And I think we should be pushing to have more healthy grocery options in lower income neighborhoods. I'm not saying that the option or the best option is just fucking eat McDonald's and cry about it. Like, obviously, fast food is not healthy.
Right.
Like, point blank. It's just not healthy to eat fast food. And as you said, why are we nitpicking about this one thing when there's a million other reasons that fast food is not healthy? Yes, opt for healthier options, but let's all keep in mind, as we're sitting here in our comfy chairs in West Hollywood,
Absolutely.
that some people don't have the options that we have. So we should at least maintain perspective about that.
Technically, we're in Culver City, which
We
is
are.
not quite as nice as West
I
Hollywood.
didn't know if people would know that. I tried to use something that they could reference. So.
All right, well, I think we got a good segue here from foods you shouldn't eat. This was an interesting study that came out. Experian Marketing Services conducted a rolling survey to determine whether there are any patterns between politics and food. And a rolling survey is where you gather information over a long period of time. And there are some interesting findings, which we've got a bunch of. The first one is conservative versus liberal food chains. So this is where conservatives like to eat. Conservatives love O'Charlie's, Cracker Barrel. That one doesn't surprise me. They like Hometown Buffet. What is that next one?
Papa
Murphy's?
Murphy's? I don't even know
Papa
what that is.
Murphy's, Longhorn Steakhouse. Okay, so these are meaty kind of things, hearty meals. Where are the liberals eating? California Pizza Kitchen, that's socialist, Macaroni Grill, Ruth Chris Steakhouse, that one's kind of pricey. On the Border, that's Mexican. P.F. Chang's, everybody likes a little, chained Asian food. Next up, conservative versus liberal fast food chains. So the conservatives, they're digging Crystal. I actually don't know what that is.
Crystal Burger?
I don't know what Crystal Burger is.
It's
Like
kind
tiny
of
little burgers.
Yeah, it's kind of like White Castle.
Okay.
Actually, it's kind of the exact same thing. As
Same
White
thing as
Castle.
White
Yeah.
Castle? Okay, they like Crystal. What else is on there? Whataburger, that's mostly down south. I've seen it in Texas.
Love Whataburger.
Schlotzsky's Deli, which also I don't know that one. Where am I? I
It's
lived
also
in
the
New York
South.
and LA.
Yeah,
Boy,
it's
I'm
also
really
the
showing
South.
my Chick-fil-A. That one doesn't surprise me. And they like Steak and Shake, which is big in the Midwest. Where are the liberals eating their fast food? Au bon pain. Oh yes, or no, those snooty French
Liberals are
people.
all just hanging out in airports,
Yeah.
apparently.
A lot of bread. Chipotle, and because Chipotle is supposed to be, relatively healthy for you as far as that goes. Qdoba, which is basically a Chipotle knockoff. Blimpie, I thought that was interesting. They like it more than Subway or Quiznos.
Yeah.
And Starbucks. We of course know that the liberals are always hanging out in Starbucks. And one more on supermarket chains. This is where the conservatives are going. They're going to Randall's, Weiss Markets, Piggly Wiggly, Brookshire's, and Food Town. Interestingly,
you said that so liberal. Brookshire's. Come on, it's Brookshire's.
Brookshire? Well, okay, can we go back to that for just a second? Can we go back to that one for just a sec? So these first, Piggly Wiggly I know, but I don't think I've been to any of these first four. Food Town's big on the East Coast.
Yeah, I'd
Are
never
these
heard
are
of
the
Food
rest of
Town.
these all? Do you
Southern.
guys know? Are these
Totally
are all
Southern and Midwestern.
I've only ever done Piggly Wiggly.
You've
That's
done
it.
Piggly Wiggly. All right, where are the liberals doing their food shopping? Well, these liberals go to Whole Foods, Whole Paycheck Foods as they call it. Trader Joe's, that's where I do most of my shopping. Fred Meyer, Acme, and Safeway. So there are some interesting, I think we can glean some interesting stuff out of this. Do you think you can get more information about what people believe politically by this kind of stuff than by polling them on actual politics? I think there might be something to that.
I mean, liberals obviously are much healthier.
Is that going back to the previous segment?
Yeah.
Liberals sort of want healthier stuff.
Yeah, and more vegetarians.
Yeah.
I think that if you were some sort of advertising or consumer marketing company and you wanted to be sneaky about the way that you reach your consumer, yes, you could go this route. But I don't think you're going to glean more information about somebody's political views than asking them point blank, what are your political views? I don't think that there's some ulterior, like weird.
No, everybody who shops at Whole Foods
Exactly.
is liberal.
It's like,
Everybody.
no.
Obviously.
And the truth is, I think that this is a bullshit study. Like point blank, this is a bullshit study. I remember once doing, maybe it was the Young Turks, maybe it was The Point. I remember Ayatarola being on the show with us and talking about, maybe it was even The Common Room, and talking about a similar study that was like, I can tell your political persuasion based on the alcohol that you drink. And it's like, no, what you can tell is where I live in the country. And the truth is there's a high correlation between this type of food consumption and regional differences. And there's also a high correlation between those regional differences and political affiliation. And now those things are being conflated.
Cara, this is 100% why I bring you on the show, because I'm not always sold on these studies, but I think that they're interesting that they get out there. So if someone can debunk them a little bit, I'm not...
I bet you there's also a high correlation between people that wear Wranglers and people that wear, I don't know, J-brand jeans and their political persuasion. It's because of where you live.
J-brand, that's going to be California.
Yeah,
That's
it's going to be California, New York. That's going to be a higher scale client who shops at, Nordstrom or Saks Fifth Avenue, and Wrangler jeans. Like, I'm from Texas. I know this. This is going to be something that people in the South are going to be more likely to wear. It's more of a fashion statement that you see in the South.
Right.
And so it's going to be more likely that those people are conservative.
And they're probably going to drink, say, whiskey instead of wine. Do you think that that's possible?
Yeah, or whiskey instead of vodka, for example. So I think these are really just regional differences in people because that's where they live.
I think some of these restaurants though take advantage of those regional differences and are there on purpose, because I know in the South there are Cracker Barrels everywhere. And I have friends who refuse to go to them because when you walk in, it's like there's Jesus music playing, there's hats that say John 3:16 on them, all these Bibles out, and they just feel uncomfortable, so they won't go into Cracker Barrel.
Gravy.
They have good biscuits.
They make a hell of a potato too.
I have a really hard
They
time
really do.
too with this conversation that we have a lot of times about voting with your dollar, which I think starts at, the big Chick-fil-A debate, which, I mean, maybe I'm just a sucker and I grew up in Texas and I really like Chick-fil-A. I apologize. I'm not homophobic. You know this, Dave.
Here we go.
But I like homophobic chicken because it tastes really good. And so here's part of the issue, I think, is that the deck is stacked against a lot of consumers in this country. And if we chase the money, ultimately we're going to get to something we don't like. Ultimately, we're going to get to something that we are polarized about and that we're politically against. And I get it. If you're somebody who can take the time to do your due diligence and do all of your research and figure out where you want to shop based on your political affiliations, that's great and more power to you. But I don't like it when people get high and mighty about telling other people that they should do that too, because there's not enough fucking time in the day to research every single thing I spend my money on.
Yeah.
It gets confusing. I mean, left to right, like Dolce and Gabbana are going to prison right now for tax evasion in Italy, and if you're against that, it goes from the top to the bottom. It goes from high to low. It goes from left to right.
Basically, you just stay in a dark room all the time, alone,
Never
pretty
go to
much.
anywhere.
Never go anywhere.
Never shop anywhere because
Don't get gas at BP.
So, exactly, and somebody's making. And it's like, is it any better to get gas at Exxon? No, and somebody's making a decision. If you're shopping at a multinational conglomerate, probably that they're making money on the backs of other people, and this is a big difficulty in capitalist society. Yes, you can. I generally opt to eat at In-N-Out over these other choices because A, it's healthier, and B, I do appreciate their corporate values a little bit more, and I'd much rather go to a mom and pop than go to a big chain. But there are times when I'm stuck. I still have to put gas in my car. That's the society we live in.
We all make different choices, and interesting, the BP thing, the oil spill, obviously, which they were completely at fault for, most people were boycotting their gas stations, which are franchised, so you weren't even hurting the corporation, the conglomerate, you were hurting the individual franchisees, which had nothing to do with any of the safety stuff.
Same thing at Chick-fil-A.
A
lot of Chick-fil-A's are franchised, and so you see the Chick-fil-A here in West Hollywood is not a homophobic Chick-fil-A at all. People are boycotting and they're like, we're in fucking West Hollywood, look at everybody who works here, we don't care. And that's a problem, it's that we don't know all of the ins and outs. A lot of these deals are done kind of in the dark and they're shadowy, and the records aren't available to the consumer. And taking political action via your food choices, I think, is a good idea, but I also don't think it's always a reasonable idea.
All right, people, there you go. We don't know everything about what's in our food and who's selling us our food. We're doing the best we can. Okay, I wanted to talk about this. I thought this was interesting. Let's start that over. Saudi Arabia's King Abdullah, Saudi Arabia, one of our biggest allies in the Gulf, which doesn't let women vote or drive, but that's a different topic altogether, has introduced a series of new laws which defines atheists as terrorists. And this is according to a report from the Human Rights Watch. And the laws basically have come into play because of the growing number of Saudis that are traveling into Syria to fight in the civil war there. And then they're returning to Syria with newfound thoughts on freedom, and they now have all these new military skills. And the monarchy is basically afraid that all of these new ideas is going to cause what's happening in Syria to happen in Saudi Arabia. Let's look at Royal Decree 44. It criminalizes participating in hostilities outside the kingdom with prison sentences of between 3 and 20 years. Article 1 of the new provisions define terrorism as calling for atheist thought in any form or calling into question the fundamentals of the Islamic religion on which this country is based. I thought, as a Star Wars guy, I thought it was funny they're calling it Royal Decree 44, which sounds so much like Order 66, which is where they killed all the Jedi, but I don't have to tell you two that. Okay, we've got two atheists here, right? I mean, I know you well enough, and I know your work
Wait, are
well.
you not an atheist too?
I'm
going to flip the script here. Do we have 3 atheists here?
I don't believe that there's somebody up there judging me, but I believe
So
in
yes.
the Force, basically. But I don't think, I believe that
Then you
there's
might not
something,
be then.
I believe there's something happening here that I can't really explain. But
We
I
all
don't
believe that.
Yeah, so,
Do you believe in God?
I don't think God cares how much I jerk off or,
Okay. All right,
you know,
all
that
right.
kind of thing. He's
More
not
of a
like a
deist.
deist.
Yeah.
I think God, whatever you want to call God, probably created this little universe and now is creating some other fun
Truth is,
ones.
though,
And he's not watching this
even
crap
as a
factory.
deist,
Yeah.
even as a deist, I think you'd be like in trouble with the Saudis.
Oh, I'm sure the Saudis would not be thrilled with
I
a
don't
gay
think they'll
Jew.
make a
I don't think so.
distinction.
Okay. So, all right. So, as atheists, is this the most bonkers thing you've ever
I
heard?
love that I can be a terrorist without doing anything.
I
You
know.
are.
It's literally atheism is less than Christian. Like it's doing less than being religious. It is a lack of belief. So literally, without doing anything, making any decisions, having any belief system or insights into anything, we're terrorists.
But can you understand why a monarchy that has so much control of their people and, as I said, doesn't let women vote or drive yet, can you understand why that, in a weird way, is more of a threat? I can sort of see why they'd see that concept as more of a threat than actually terrorism in a weird
It's a
way.
theocracy. This is the problem with living under a theocracy, is that you're going to have legislation in place that's morally directed, that's fundamentally based on your specific religious values, and it's going to, by its very nature, target individuals that don't fit into that box. And look at what's happening right now in Brunei, where the Sultan of Brunei has passed Sharia law in this country. I mean, it's fucking insane. Like, I'd much rather
you
go.
can chop off someone's hand now for stealing something.
If I go to Brunei, like, I will be put to death in 5 minutes. Like, I will figure out how to break some sort of law that will,
they'd kill you on the
they'd
plane.
execute, exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'd rather go to Saudi Arabia, but these are shades of shit, is what we're talking about right now. And yes.
By the way, are you boycotting the Beverly Hotel? Because
the Beverly
that's,
Hill- yeah,
is it the Beverly Hills Hotel? Because that's owned by the Sultan of Brunei. We
Yeah,
covered it
because
on the
I
Young Turks.
generally spend a lot of
A lot
money
of
at the
time.
Beverly Hills Hotel.
Right.
It's an easy boycott for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think these are all shades of the same thing. If we talk about oppression of women and we talk about oppression of atheistic values, what we're really talking about is a theocracy trying to maintain its religious values, which are patriarchy and kind of core power in the hands of the rich, in the hands of the people who can use these kind of religious codes to control the decisions that the lesser thans in the. I mean, it's a fucking age-old story. It's depressing as shit that we're living in 2014 and we're seeing this, but this doesn't surprise me that Saudi Arabia makes these decisions. What pisses me off is that they're a strong ally of America, same as Brunei, by the way. We're an ally of a country with Sharia law, and that's all because they have oil.
So that's the next thing I wanted to bring up. And without getting into major geopolitical discussion, do we have to reevaluate some of our alliances on some of these places that have such horrific human rights, where they're literally stoning gay people to death and for the third time now, women can't vote and drive. I mean, it's such fundamental, basic, simple human rights. Do we have to reevaluate who we're friends with, even though, yeah, they've got a lot of oil, and apparently we like oil around here?
Yeah, I was actually just going to pose that question to you guys because it's like a really touchy subject, but I find it hard to imagine that I'm in a country that's supporting that type of environment for people. I feel so bad. I get messages from people all the time from the Middle East, and they're scared to even write me the message because if somebody were to see it, they could be executed. Yeah. So for people to have to live in that, or people who are being killed because they're gay, like I just don't understand why we would use money as enough of an incentive to support that type of environment.
And that's the problem. We're so entrenched in this kind of American exceptionalism and this political, like, whatever my country thinks, I think too, that we actually use phrases like, why do we support? I don't fucking support this, but my government does. And that's unfortunate for a lot of people because it makes us look on the world stage like we are willing to turn the other way. We're willing to turn the other way about these human rights violations.
Which we are.
Exactly, and that's the real problem. I'm not.
Right.
But as a nation we are, and that's basically because of what you said. It's that dependence on oil. And I think that if we got to a place where we were less dependent on fossil fuels, and I'm not even about foreign fossil fuels, but fossil fuels in general, and we really embraced a more green movement, which is helpful for a million reasons. It's helpful to the economy, it's helpful to the environment. I mean, there's only positive side effects of making these decisions. This wouldn't be a conversation. Obama would immediately be like, fuck you guys, we're not going to give you aid anymore, not until you lift this ban, or not until you stop, killing people for their beliefs.
Wow, so even Obama's not above politics. I can't believe it.
What?
I just can't believe it.
Amazing.
All right, final thought on this, because we're talking about atheism. What do you guys personally say to the people that say there are no atheists in foxholes? So the people that say on your deathbed, you are going to retract everything you believe.
That's a bunch of bullshit.
Take it away,
That's horrible. That's horrible. I know that Christopher Hitchens spoke a lot about this whenever he was dying.
Yeah.
He definitely didn't take back anything that he said. And I think that that's really an insult to your intelligence, saying you obviously can't hold your beliefs true because if you were in this situation, you throw it all away. So you're almost in a phase until you need God or religion or something, and that's just insulting to your character and your intelligence.
Yeah, it's also putting such a strange onus on the atheist, I always think. Like, they can believe everything they believe in for their entire life, except for the last second, they're going to switch it to the last second. Like,
it's just one more way for them to say, we're right and you're wrong, because one day you're going to agree with me.
And the truth is, if we were raised in a nation where religion was never taught, where there was no cultural bias toward religion, and then we went to war for our country, and then we found ourselves in a foxhole, we wouldn't make up the concept of God. Like, we're atheists by default. Religion is indoctrinated into us. So, of course, some people go back to their earlier mentalities because they were raised that way. But I don't know any atheists who, in the late stages of life, who were never exposed to religion, who are all of a sudden like, I'm going to invent some sort of religion as a means of feeling safe and comfortable.
I was just going to bring that up. I've met a lot of people who are raising their kids without religion, and I've had a conversation with a kid, and they're like, I just don't understand how people think these crazy things. I don't believe in Santa Claus anymore, and I just think it's really important if people could just step back and imagine that they never had that indoctrination. Imagine that they never were brought up with religion, and then tell yourself the religion story again, whether you're Muslim or Christian or whatever you are. It would sound ridiculous. So I want to ask those people who ask me what I would do on my deathbed. Well, why on your deathbed aren't you going to start praying to Allah? If you're a Christian,
Because you could be wrong.
Might as well cover all the bases.
Yeah, and that's a common thing that they say kind of in atheist circles, which is that we're all atheists. I just go one God deeper.
There you go. Well, I hope we gave you a smart and heady show, as I promised up top. I want to thank Jaclyn Glenn, Cara Santa Maria. Their Twitters are right down below. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, all that stuff that we indoctrinate you to do on the YouTube, because that is truly the supreme power. Okay, we'll see you next week. Thanks.